So welcome everybody to our Vibe Check 101. And this is one of what we hope to be many discussions on frequency, really with the AO scan in mind, made from Solex. So welcome. And for those of you guys watching later, we're so grateful that you took the time to listen in to what Brenda and I have to say. I'm Jen Weir, in case you have never met me or seen me. And my portion in this is to share about really what I meant to share about frequencies using the AO scanner, but because of my story with it, I like to break it down simply. I'm a simple girl and I don't like to make things complicated. I just don't want to take the time to do that. So I will go ahead and share from that perspective. My partner here, Brenda Chamness, I'll let Bren, would you mind just sharing who you are and what you're sharing when I'm all finished?
Yes, sure. My name is Brenda Chamness, and I am at the top of this little chain of users of the AO. So Jen and I are partners. We run this together, and I am actually a naturopathic doctor and a pastoral counselor. So I use the AO a little bit differently, but I want to tell you that it's going to be as easy as Jen makes it sound because that's really the goal is to put health in your hands and make it easy. So I'll share a little bit about how to use it later, and she's going to take it away now.
Yeah. Thank you, Bren. So what I want to ask for those of you guys on live, just real quick, if you'd put in the chat, what is your experience with frequency now? That can, when I say frequency, I mean essential oils, what we're talking about with the AO scan. Maybe you use sound wave therapy, you pop on YouTube and do a 528 hertz, mega or whichever is it megahertz, hertz. Look at me. See, I need it simple. I don't even know if it's megahertz or hertz because you know why it doesn't really matter to me. That's why I don't remember that. But in any case, so if you just share, and if it's nothing, if you're like, I didn't even know essential oils had frequency, then please share that too. One of the things I wanted to do is just really talk about um, why you'd want to use frequency essential oils. Thank you, Michelle, for saying why we would want to use frequencies. Why do they seem more chatted about now than ever before? They really aren't. It's just now we have social media and we like to share all the things, right? So, okay, Itobi scan, which go off frequencies of essential oils. Yeah. Okay, essential oils, Solex, low pad. Yep. Okay, cool. Very good. Oh, yeah, I've heard about that sound machine. Awesome. Okay, guys, and here's the thing. I have notes here. I am usually not a note person. I like to go off the cuff. But I don't know about frequencies. I don't have it memorized like I have emotions. If we were talking about emotions, I would just be telling you all the things and people would be getting healed in their emotions right now. But I need to use my notes. So number one, I don't go off topic. Number two, I'm not going So I'm going to look at my notes now. So the first thing is here's what we need to understand. Your body is an energetic system. Can everybody say, yes, we knew that? If you did not know that your body is an energetic system, then look, right out the gate, 5 minutes in, you learn something new. This is so important because every cell, every organ, every tissue, everything in us is an energetic system. Every part of us vibrates. And here's, well, okay, I'm not going to skip it. See, I need my notes. I was absolutely going to skip ahead to like point three. Thank you, Lord, for these notes. But here's what happens is we get out of balance because of stress, trauma, unrest, you name it, and toxins in our environment, negative thought patterns, emotions. Because of this, our body can manifest, can, not will, it might, it can manifest disease, some sort of malfunctions, unrest that comes in some unsavory package. When we use frequency, tools like we've mentioned, you guys have mentioned the Aura Sound, the Itobi scan, the Solex scanner, the Infoceutical glow disc, those types of things. All of these frequency tools help restore the body's natural resonance and it guides it gently. Like, hear me, that word gently is so important. It guides it gently back to homeostasis. How many of you guys realize that God made our bodies to heal itself? I mean, my son had a bike accident a couple of days ago. He's fine, by the way. Thank you, Jesus. We've had plenty of broken bones in our family over the last few years. I feel super done with that. But he has this really amazing pepperoni size thing on his knee, and I'm watching his body do the things like without, all I did was just clean it. And it started to do it the things, right? It started to scab up, and as the scab is healing and the skin is regenerating and it's going back together little by little, the scab is falling off without him picking at it. You guys have any pickers in your family? It's disgusting, but I've committed to help him not pick. The point is that the body is designed, if I were to just leave it alone, I didn't put any oils on it, I didn't run any frequencies, his body would reduce the swelling, it would start to scab up, it would do everything it needed to do. The greatest thing about using the tools that I have is that it made it go a little bit quicker, a lot of it quicker, I should say. So when we're using frequency tools, we're speaking to the body and saying, hey, this is the way you need to go. And we're gently guiding it back to a homeostasis or a more balanced state. Okay. So that's the most important thing, in my opinion. So rather than suppressing systems, right, when we take a med or anything, not that those things don't have their place, but rather than suppressing it, we're getting to the root. And it's like, I like to picture like meds kind of do this, where frequency tools do this. It goes under and gets it at the root. That's just, I'm super visual. That helped me. Okay, so the second thing is, so if we're thinking about frequency, technology, tools, all of that versus traditional medicine. See, traditional medicine focuses more on biochemistry, med surgeries, those types of things, which I mentioned. Those things have their place. When I broke my arm, I didn't have the faith to say, all right, in the name of Jesus, like heal. I just didn't have that faith at that moment, nor do I know if that was what God's will was for me. So since my hand was going like this, I needed to go like this. I was super happy for surgery and meds. However, I really appreciated using frequency so that I wasn't constantly dependent on pain meds and bone healing, that type of thing. They have their place. But while we do these types of things with the meds and surgeries, sometimes we do that too much and we overlook energetic disruptions in the body. Frequency modalities go deeper. Remember, like I said, trad medicine goes like this, typically, where frequency tools, we get underneath, we get to the root. We can address energetic stagnation in the body. Man, I love that. Anyway, I can get off topic on that one. Release trapped emotions that may cause negative issues in the body. We can support nervous system reset, and we can foster a better environment going from the inside out. Now, just a couple things, and I can share with what I know best about using the AO scanner. Two things. Um, First of all, emotional release, emotional reset, emotion healing in the body, all of that has gone exponentially quicker for me and my clients and my family by using the AO scanner. Most of you guys, I'm pretty sure I've seen almost every single name on here, at least in one of my emotion classes. And you know that I always use essential oils and they work beautifully, and there's a place for that. Yet, as I've used the frequency tools, and we'll get to why that works in a minute, specifically with the AO scanner using inner voice and sending the SEFI frequencies, our emotional shift has happened much quicker. It vibrates out anything that might be trapped. It bypasses our subconscious objections, right? So if you've sat with me in an aroma freedom technique, okay, and so we're breathing in the oils and we're thinking of a memory of a time when we felt maybe sad in our belly. Well, this memory comes up and it can create even more upset. It can create, you think, oh, I forgot about that memory. And now, there's more layers there. And sometimes your conscious objections can go, or even subconscious can say, maybe you're not ready to release it. You're not ready to forgive, whatever, whatever. When we do frequency, when we're using inner voice, which is just sound, music with frequency embedded in it to help correct and balance out those negative emotions, you don't get to object. Your body just responds and receives what it needs. Let's go of what it doesn't. Does that make sense? I don't know. I can't see any of you guys. It could make sense. It may not make sense. The other thing is, how many of you guys have noticed how nervous system healing has been? It's like a trendy topic, and I don't mean that it's trendy, like, oh, it's this fad, but I think so many women. I'm just checking for a minute, like, okay, there's all women. Hate to say if there's men, they're like, wait, what about us? I'm not saying that men don't have nervous system dysregulation and adrenal fatigue and all that, but typically women tend to heap themselves on with unnecessary burdens. I mean, is there an amen there? Can anybody testify that that's truth? I don't know why we do this. I really don't know when in history. Maybe it was Eve that did it to us. Who knows? But the point is that we as women have now started to see in 2020 something now creeping in middle of 2025, like, wait a second, we are all about to drop on our feet. And so many practitioners like Brenda, like so many other people that I follow, like it's my job, these women who have taught me so much about my nervous system. And guess what? I can just go to my AO scanner and go, you know what? I'm going to make a playlist, which Brenda's going to teach you all how to do that in a little bit. And I can send frequencies to my nervous system to help get it into that parasympathetic state. You guys all know what that is. That's that rest and digest state. It's where your body comes out of fight, flight, freeze, faint, or fawn unnecessarily, right? Where we get to be in these survival modes. And we come out of this, and our nervous system is able to just breathe and rest. Just show of hands. Look, I'm going to call you guys out now just to prove my point. How many of you guys struggle with falling asleep easily and staying asleep through the whole night without racing thoughts? I was like, how many of you can do that? Or how many of you struggle? Okay, see a couple of, yeah. I mean, sometimes your mind is racing. Guess what? That causes your nervous system, just your mind is going, your nervous system is heightened. And look, we're all on a blue screen right here on the East Coast. Those of us on the East Coast, it's about to be 8 o'clock. This is horrible for us, but here we are. I should be having my little glasses. Actually, when my son went to the army, he gave me his little orange glasses. I'm so vain, you guys, I can't wear them, but I probably should be so that my biorhythm, I'm like laughing. I'm going, yeah, why didn't I do that? Apparently, I look silly. So, in any case, our nervous system needs attention, and everybody's taking note. One of the ways we can do that is through frequency. Here's the deal. Frequency can retrain your brain and your body back into that parasympathetic state. And so that if that's at all appealing to you, just make a note about that. Like if you did nothing else with the AO scanner, but get your nervous system back online and told your adrenal glands to chill the heck out and stop producing all that terrible hormone producing cortisol, which is for a purpose, but not all the time. If that's all you did in the next 30 days, imagine how much better you would feel. I mean, just imagine. Okay, back to my notes. Here's the other thing about frequency. It is non-invasive and it's safe. I feel like a commercial. It's safe for all ages, but it's true. You can send frequencies to a little person, like a little person. And I know there's certain oils that we can use on little people, but it's not altogether non-invasive. How many of you guys walk around if you use essential oils? I'm assuming that, in 2025, everybody used them. I just saw them at Market Basket today, for heaven's sakes. Um, so how many of you have put them on and you feel like a walking diffuser? I mean, sometimes that can be a little off-putting to people. But if I've got my frequencies just being sent to myself, it's not disrupting anybody else. And yeah, thank you, Crystal, for saying, and no side effects. Yeah, none. I mean, yeah, sorry, I was reading the chat. Um, and it's complementary to other forms of healing that you're choosing. So again, I mentioned that I had surgery about a year and a half ago. It was lovely to be able to have that surgery, but also be able to use several different frequency modalities to help my bones start to heal quicker, to help not have to use morphine and painkillers. which is really nice. Of course, I use my Trauma Life and all my oils on top of it. What do we call that, Bren? Frequency stacking?
Mhm.
Yeah, just stacking your modalities. All right, the next thing. And I try not to get into discussions on Facebook because Holy Spirit is like, that is not going to serve you or me well. So let's not do that. I'd really try my level best. One of the hardest ones for me is when I hear people say, frequency medicine, it's woo woo. I mean, whatever. That word is so silly and it's overused. But that it might even be akin to demonic. There's a lot of chatter about maybe is it that, which um, if you open the Word of God right now in Genesis 1 2, you will find, I believe the passage says something to the effect of the earth was formless and void. I mean, depending on what translation, but it says that the Spirit of God moved over the earth or over the waters, excuse me. And that Hebrew word can for move or moving was moving has been used different, can be used for different ways, flutter, vibrate, tremble, shake. Yeah, I think that's it, which is a form of a frequency. There's a woman called Laura Sanger. If you guys don't follow her, she does an amazing job talking about different types of frequency, really in particular to music. I'd encourage you to follow her and read a lot of her works that she writes on her blogs if you want to dive more into the biblical side of frequency, especially as it pertains to, thank you, Bren, as it pertains to music, because our music has been weaponized. And here's the thing, this isn't in my notes. See, this is why I have notes, because I'll get a little sidetracked. But show of hands, how many of you guys realize that frequency, particularly in music, has been weaponized on the population, on the whole world? Does anybody? Well, okay, I know Bren. I think my mom probably. Okay, good. So some of you guys are aware. So it has, straight up. If you follow Laura Sanger and read any of her works, you'll see just the simple tuning from 444 to 440 is absolutely weaponizing. And here's my take on all of that. We now have something in our hands to counter that, not only to counter that, to repel it. Instead of being victims of all the Wi-Fi, all the music, even the music that they play at the grocery store, right? It's being weaponized. When I go to the gym, I think, oh dear Lord, it's chaotic music constantly. And so now we have the opportunity to flip the script. And instead of just being victims of like, oh, I'm just getting inundated with all these frequencies, we can now protect our bodies with EMF shields. We can broadcast that through our AO device. We can use different things to imprint, drink it in our water, right? So many different tools. So for me, and I know Brandon and several of you guys who use this, rather than being victimized by weapons, we now have something in our hands. We can empower ourselves to not only counter what they are doing, but flip the script. I'll just leave it at that. All right. Speaking of, my last point of that, of why we're doing more frequency these days, is empowerment. But even more than that, it's self-responsibility. So a long, long time ago, when I first had kids, I would go there and to the doctor and ask just whatever they said. I said, okay, I'm going to do that. And there was a time where I was feeling a little, um, I'll just say skitsy about giving my little teeny weeny babies all these pokes that they wanted. And the doctor looked at me and said, oh, but polio and smallpox is on the rise. You sure would hate to have something bad happen to your child. As a firstborn, or, a woman with a firstborn child and just not really knowing, I thought, well, yes, I should do everything you say. And I mean, no disrespect against anybody that has that profession, but I was uneducated and I was willing to just do whatever somebody else told me to do until my son got cancer. Same one, by the way. And it was at that moment that I thought, you know what? It's actually my kid, my responsibility. It's my body, it's my responsibility. And so when we think about frequency tools, the nice thing about that is it gives us sort of not sort of, it gives us it's kind of like being able to do a little checkup on yourself daily, if that makes sense. It takes that responsibility, like, you go for a walk, you drink your water, you cook healthy meals. You're just taking responsibility for your personal health rather than waiting for a crisis diagnosis. Waiting for a crisis diagnosis is not wisdom. Many of you guys know my story, right? My husband is now no longer with me. Waited too long to get checked out. Probably could have looked at some signs that were glaring at him, but that wasn't what he chose. So here we are. But waiting for a crisis diagnosis is not wisdom, and it's not, especially when we have tools right at our fingertips. The nice thing is we start to see some imbalances and we can correct these things in the energetic field. And God willing, and really using this, a lot of times things just they go away, right? That's all I'm going to say about that. But rather than, I will say this, rather than waiting for a diagnosis and then hopefully a prescription and all of that, you can become an active participant in your own health and healing. And we've talked about this before, if you guys have sat in any of my classes when it comes to herbs, supplements, oils, or any of those types of things. I mean, really, we have this body and we need to be good stewards of it. If you know Jesus like I know Jesus, this isn't just it's not replaceable, right? This earth suit that we have. It's part of being a steward with what he gave us. All right, let me look at the chat. Yes, I'm just treating symptoms of problems 100%, Crystal, 100%. Yeah. I know, me too. I was telling my daughter today just about being more aware when you're younger, because we were joking about how my youngest has a lot more, we'll just say leeway than my oldest did, right? And Eden, she was saying, well, yeah, and that's statistics, like generation throughout generation, typically the older parents get, the more relaxed they are. And really by and large, it's because we know better now as you're older and you have more children, you do better. So it's like that. I know better now with pokes and sticks to little kids. I would do better now if I had other children. So, because for me, I use the essential oils and herbs and those little Bach flower remedies that you buy at Whole Foods or Sprouts. That was really all I would use. So, just wanted to give a little comparison and contrast on why you would use either one or both. But here's what I came up with. Neither is better than the other. My husband had a saying, if less is more, think of how much more would be. I really like that saying because when it comes to frequency tools, I really can't get enough of them. I have all my oils here. I've got some peppermint, I've got some grounding oils, but I also use the frequency. So let me just share with you a couple things. If you're thinking about essential oils, and if anybody else has any questions, well, how is it different than this? Then just put it in the chat. We'll answer that too. So number one with essential oils, you've got biochemical delivery. It's a drop. It's going to go and affect your body first. And it also has frequencies. When you have frequency modalities, it's just purely vibrational. It's working on an energetic level. It's working on the electromagnetic fields and the quantum. The delivery system, rather, I'm sorry, I said the delivery for the other one too. It's topical for oils, inhalation, and ingestion. For frequency modalities, it's direct application, right? Like if you put it in your water, you imprint little sugar pellets, maybe you put it on a bracelet, a little a Cybin pad, something like that, or you can broadcast it or sound therapy. I'm with you, Crystal. I want to have everything in my toolbox as possible. Brenda and I have talked about that, having low-tech tools, high-tech tools, because you never know. If my kids and I like to say, if the poop hits the fan and we don't have any electricity, well, I guess I'm kind of out of luck with my frequency tools that need to be plugged in, except wisdom would tell me, you know what, why don't you imprint some sugar pellets? How about you have some water imprinted on hand? It's probably a good idea, but I would always have my more low-tech ones. Another thing with the oils in comparison to frequency, the impact on the body, both on a physical level, both on an energetic level. Impact on your mind and emotion, the oils go right to the limbic system, and they use more of a sensory anchoring system, right? If you've ever done aroma freeding technique again, at the end, we anchor the good positive memory with an oil. So every time you smell it, you think of that. It helps you get through to your breakthrough. For the mind and emotions using the frequency tools, it's more brainwave and emotional release. It creates some more coherence within the brain and the body. and the emotions. My favorite option, especially since I have two boys right now that cannot use oils or supplements or really anything, not even chewing gum for heaven's sakes, is the ability to use it remotely. So like with oils, you can't use that remotely, even if a remedy or something like that, but you can broadcast that. You can broadcast your Bach flowers, that type of thing. So I really appreciate the remote aspect of it. And you can be anywhere in the world. Speed of shift. Now it's interesting because oils are often more gradual in my experience, except for peppermint. I don't know if anybody's ever had an upset stomach and you put a little drop of peppermint. It's like, oh, thank God, where have you been all my life? But typically I have found, and this could be different for everybody because again, we all have different DNAs. I'd love to hear if somebody else has a different experience, but I have found with frequency, it is more immediate. I've had a quicker shift with it versus sometimes it takes a bit for the oils. And the last thing is just the sensory experience. So yeah, with the oils, you're going to have sensory, right? You're going to be able to smell it. It'll, might even feel good on your skin, that touch. With the oils, with the frequency, with the exception of sound, right? With the inner voice, there is not much in the way of sensory experience as far as that goes. Now, if we talk about, oh, what are they called? The bowls. They go around. I think they're called singing bowls, but anything with sound, you're going to have that. But there's more of a non-sensory experience, which, as a side note, for anybody with sensory issues, people that are super duper sensitive to that, this might be an option for you. Each of them is powerful in their own right. But one of the things, again, as we alluded to, combining all of your tools, and I love that Crystal said that, having as many of your tools in your box as possible is key because when you combine everything, it creates this amazing synergistic experience, right? So you're able to help the whole body. You're able to get to the emotion brain with all of it. It just has just a lovely experience all the way around. All right, let me just look at your questions. Yeah, frequencies are so great for kids and animals. Yeah, your kids won't or can't use any of the oils and supplements being in the military. See, that's my thing too, Crystal. None of my boys can, since they're in the military, they can't use any of that. And I don't know, I think yeah, they can't use it for at least 8 months, as far as I know. And really, well, I'll just leave it at that. There's just times where they're just not going to be able to, right? Okay, so does anybody have any questions so far? I do need to give it over to Brent. I'm realizing, wow, I could go on. I did not know I could talk this much about frequency. I have a lot more to share, but is everybody pretty clear at this point of what frequencies are and how the frequency knows you? Seems like most of you guys are pretty savvy on that. You want more? Let me just share this really quick because somebody had asked, I had made a post and people wanted more information. And I thought, okay, this is a really great way to explain. And for those of you guys who have an AO scanner and you're going, I just want to tell people how this works. I've got just a why it works remotely because you might have somebody that wants a scan or you offer them a scan and they're like, how does it know me? I mean, really, if you go back to, how did you guys know to hop onto this Zoom? You had a link and we just trust that, right? Or how do we know that our phones are going to hook into Bluetooth? We just trust like, oh, it works. Somebody really ever questions. But isn't it funny that when it has to do with healing and health and wellness, we're like, how does that work exactly? I want the whole book on it. And it's like, no, you don't. You didn't want a whole book when you bought your dang iPhone, but now you want a whole book on your body. Okay, we need to just stop that and understand it's the same thing. So just like a Wi-Fi or a Bluetooth signal, invisible but super real, it works. And again, nobody questions when Apple says, hey, we have this new device that came out. You want it? And all of us Apple junkies, I'm totally going to totally going to raise my hand. I got my watch on. I got my phone. We don't even question about that, except for the fact we should because it's actually hurting us. In any case, if you understand how that works, you're halfway to knowing that we can have a positive effect of targeted frequencies that are sent to you. So just like if one of you guys gave me your number, I can call you right now because it's your number. It's your number. You don't have the same number that Brenda, as my mom, as Sarah, right? Or as me. It's the same thing. We each have a unique frequency signature, just like our DNA is different, right? If I committed a crime and left one of my hairs at the scene, well, guess what? They're going to know it's me because it's my DNA. It's the same idea with frequency. So these frequencies aren't random, but they can be specific to what our bodies and emotions need. So we use, if you use your AO scanner or the universal U, right? Your unique energetic signature, typically a voice clip or a scan, right? We put in your information, height, weight, birth date, name, picture, all of that. And from there, you run the frequencies with the software. You do the inner voice and then send it to the person, no matter where they live. It's based on quantum physics. And I think here's the problem. If we need a different word than quantum physics, because you say physics, everybody who dropped out of any kind of science or math in 10th or 11th grade is like, I'm out. That's too hard. It's not too hard. It really isn't. And then you say quantum, and now we're thinking, we talking like Quantum Leap? Like, am I dating myself? Do you guys remember that show from the 80s? Scott Bakula, and then there was a new one that was really good. So we think about that. Are we talking time travel? Well, maybe kind of because it goes in a different realm. But this is all stuff that's all around us. And again, we're all sitting here on Zoom. None of us should ever really question how this or why this works. But quantum physics and something called entanglement, right? Being all twisted up in something in the energetic realm, it basically means that distance doesn't matter when it comes to energy. And so, as I said, I could go on and on because I apparently super love talking about this, but I don't want to hijack Bren's time and we don't want to take your time all night because she and I could sit here till what, midnight maybe and talk about this, Bren. But I'm going to let her do what she needs, what she would like to share with you.
Hey, thank you so much, Jen. That was great. Um, I think that one thing that I'd like people to know is I've been using frequency before frequency was cool. I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and began to use frequency as a modality to heal from cancer. So that's just, I didn't just use that. I used other things, lifestyle changes, and some other health modalities. But frequency's been around forever. And as Jen said, we freak out and think I need all the proof that this is working. Well, you don't ask for that when you go have an MRI or when you go have a CT scan. And yet that is looking inside our bodies somehow and printing out a picture of what's going on. It's using frequency. So frequency's been used in healthcare for a long, long time. And it's just been kind of proprietary and we didn't know about it. And then we've been using frequency on the fringes, I would say, for a long, long time as well. And when I was using it, people thought I was crazy. That's okay. But now it is resurging into even the mainstream. Now they're talking about using light frequency and sound frequency in mainstream medical use. So you're going to hear more and more about it. And that's why Jenna and I are so excited because it is in the palm of our hands right now. We can use the same things that we know work, and we don't have to go pay somebody to do it. So I'm going to just show you a little bit, one of the capabilities. So let me share my screen. And can everybody see it?
I know I can.
Okay, perfect. So Jen, if you check the chat, if you don't mind if somebody has anything coming up, but this is the main menu for the AO scanner. So there's a lot here we're not going to talk about. We're just going to talk about the SEFI because that is one of my favorites. So SEFI stands for Subtle Energy Frequency Imprinter. And basically, it's a way for you to broadcast or imprint various frequencies. You can create a custom playlist. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then these are all categories. So reach, affirmations, chakras, essential oils, for those who use those. Frequency, these are going to be Rife, Royal Rife frequencies that if you're familiar with Rife. Flowers are going to be flower essences like the Bach flower essences Jen mentioned. Homeopathics. How many people have used homeopathics? Homeopathy. Anybody use those?
Yeah.
Yeah, few.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
if you've used some, who did?
Yeah, Sarah, my mom, Rochelle, Michelle, Crystal.
So if you've used them, then you know that there's certain things you need to pay attention to, like the potentiality and the dosage and all of those things. Well, this is informational frequency, so you don't have to be careful about that. The body uses what it needs, which is great. Okay, so what can you do with SEFI? Well, like Jen said, I am the queen of the easy button. Like, I want to know what's the easiest way I can use this feature. It would be to go to SEFI dots. And when I bring that up, um, come on, I can choose one of these that are determined. So these are programs that have all the frequencies in them for these issues. One of my favorites is Youth Eternal. That doesn't mean eternal youth. We get that, we know from Jesus, okay? But this is, all the creams, all the things you buy to make yourself look young. We all do it. I hope y'all are not lying and saying you don't. I'm just kidding. But you can look up here and there's a little I for information. And it says a proprietary frequency mix that supports and enhances the body's normal stress and inflammation responses, allowing the body to age more gracefully. That sounds exactly like the kind of language that essential oil companies have to use. It's the safe language that doesn't tell you what it really does. But in these frequencies, there's anti-aging, there's wrinkle frequencies, there's all kinds of great frequencies to help you age gracefully. So if you wanted to imprint something, now normally I would be looking at this on my phone, but you can use a tablet, you can use your computer, you can use a phone. But if I wanted to imprint this, I would just come up here and put on this little display here, this fractal amplifier that just amplifies the signal. I would put on, let's see, I should have brought something in here with me. I'm thinking, what could I use? Um, okay, don't, y'all are going to have to use your imagination. So this is actually an orgonite tower, so I use this to mitigate EMF. But let's just pretend this is a bottle or a jar of face cream. I could take this and put it on my screen and then do this 20-second imprint, and it would imprint those frequencies into my face cream. So now I've layered whatever the face cream has in and of itself along with beneficial frequencies. Doesn't that sound good?
Yeah.
The other thing you can do is, let's look at another one. Pain. This is a big deal. So you see on here it says SEFI dots and it shows these little places, locations. Can y'all see that? The locations. That's where you would put these little dots that you can get from Solex. And they're silicone and holographic, so they hold the frequency for a long time. You could put one of those on here, you can imprint it, and then wear it on your body, and it would deliver the frequencies to your body for 3 days continuously. So the great thing is you could have really quick pain relief, inflammation relief. So that is doing the easy way. You could see mood. Mood would be um, proper balance between dopamine and serotonin. So that would be a great thing if you have hmm, just not so great days. I don't know if anybody needs any energy, but Oh my goodness, energy endurance. Sometimes there are days I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's the atmosphere, if it's the barometric pressure. I just feel like I am moving through quicksand. Does anybody ever feel like that?
Mhm.
It's just I have nothing. So I can use energy endurance. And again, you can imprint your water. So what I would probably do with this is imprint water and drink it. And I'd also imprint a SEFI dot and wear it. So I would layer those two applications or delivery methods and up my energy. So these are the easy things to do. How many of you have allergies in Texas? My goodness. Do we have any questions, Jen?
We do a couple. So first one is how long do the imprints last?
3 days. Oh,
Okay.
well, 3 days on the SEFI dots. Basically, it's the imprints are not going to go away until they are overridden by other frequencies. So, for instance, if you are wearing a SEFI dot that is for, peace and tranquility, I don't think there's one on here, but there are some, and you have a fit of carnality that day. I'm sure none of you ever have that, okay? But it's possible that your own energy being emitted would override what's on your SEFI dot. But otherwise, people say, oh, well, you could use the SEFI dots and leave them on for longer. But the recommendation from Solex is that it works for 3 days. And that's the strongest imprint. You can use it in your water. I've made frequency in a dropper bottle using something that would help hold the frequency longer. And it made a like a tincture almost. It's like an energetic tincture that I use for 30 days. I just use drops in my water every day. So
So
that's a great thing.
on that note, then and there's a follow-up with that. So if we're talking about face cream, you mentioned, imprinting.
Mm.
So would it be like until the face cream is gone, or do we need to keep re-imprinting?
I do mine once I get it, I just do it once.
That's what I was thinking. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, face creams, they're not exposed all the time to a lot of stuff, so they tend to just hold it.
Okay. Um, do you need to put the dots on all of the points shown?
No, those points are options. So you would put it generally on one of those options. You
Okay.
could put on more. You can also put the Cepheid dots. These are generally showing you meridian locations.
Mhm.
So you would put them on places where a meridian line runs that would help with dispensing or dispersing that throughout the body. But you can also put a Cepheid dot directly on where you need it.
Okay.
So if you needed, or you might choose a location that's not really visible. I have a post that I did where I have Steffi dots all over my face. I would never wear those out, but sometimes they're so prominent and where you're going, you don't want to be asked about that. So
Right. That makes
sorry
sense.
about my little dog barking because she's a brat.
So,
More questions?
yes. What holds the frequency longer than water, if anything?
What holds the frequency longer than water would be probably anything that's holographic. So holograms have their own capability of capturing and holding frequency. So a holographic sticker would hold frequency for a long time. A holographic Cepheid dot would hold frequency for a long time. Other things, metals, gold, silver can hold frequency a long time. As a matter of fact, just as a side note for those who are believers, I believe that the reason all of the furniture in the tabernacle was covered in gold is because it held the frequency of the worship. So it would hold it and reverberate it and re-release it over and over again.
Okay. Okay. So last one so far. So when you make a tincture, what do you use instead of water?
You do use water, but you can use one of two things. You can either use, depending on what you want to do, a little bit of a an alcohol in there as a preservative, or you can use a Celtic salt. So you can use either one of those as a preservative. The Celtic salt, really, that's only going to be for about 20 to 30 days because it's not really, it'll preserve it that long, but not longer.
Mhm.
The alcohol is a better choice for holding the frequency, but some people just don't want it in there. So,
Okay, so no more questions so far.
okay. So let me just show you a few of the things that are available to you. So the essential oils. I know you guys love essential oils. And look, there are all these essential oils. Have you ever wanted to be able to use an essential oil, but you couldn't because you didn't want to smell like it, or it was contraindicated, to be in your house around your pets, or you weren't sure if it would be something that would be good for a child? All of these are available. These are frequencies of pure essential oils. No, they will not tell us which brand. You can imagine the brand wars, but trust me, they're going to be good. But for instance, say that you didn't have some of the more expensive oils like Melissa or Rose. Well, you could imprint Rose or Melissa or Sandalwood into a carrier oil, and it is going to have all of the frequencies or the information from the constituents of that oil imprinted into your carrier. Now, we can't manufacture the smell, but it will have the properties. The other thing you can do is you can expand your oils because you could put 1 or 2 drops of those more expensive oils into your carrier, then imprint that into the carrier oil. Now you can expand and um, make your nice expensive oils go further.
Yeah. Plus, I love how you can scan to see what oil you need, and it doesn't hold back. It tells you exactly what
It
the oil.
does, and I'm scared now.
I,
I'm like, what? Uh, what is it telling me I need? Tulsi. Oh, yes. Yes, I know. Okay, so I have some chest congestion and it's staying for asthma, bronchitis, hoarseness. Yes, that's exactly what I need right now. As a matter of fact, it made me cough just thinking about it.
yeah,
Okay, have to go and print that one when we're done. The homeopathics are amazing, but I don't know about you, but I am not a homeopath. I'm a naturopath, but I'm not a homeopath. I don't know all the things that you need to know. What I love is if I want to imprint something, I can look over here. So this is the list that gives you all of the homeopathic remedies, of which there are so, so, so many. But I like this one because I can look by symptom to see what's needed. So I can look over here and say, okay, well, gluten intolerance. These are going to be the homeopathic remedies that will help with gluten intolerance. Okay, but I don't know which one would help. Oh my goodness, they did something so wonderful. I can scan, and this will put them in the order of efficacy for me. It's scanning my body against these frequencies. It didn't change, but it's showing that this top one is the most resonant with me personally. So, because there are many remedies in the homeopathic world that work for the same things, work for a bunch of different things. And you need to have the right remedy for the person. Well, this helps you know that. So you have all of these different things that you can use. Um, oh, let's see. Well, Jen, we were talking about bone pain, broken bone, fractured bone.
mhm.
Okay. So something like this. Now, I don't have that,
Hey,
but
wait, actually, Bren, I'm sorry to interrupt, but if do you have me as a target by any chance? Because I thought it might be kind of fun to show that, unless.
yep, I do. Let me see. Oh, well, I have you as a client.
Oh, not okay. Never mind.
Yeah, I can. do you as a client. I would just have to go up here to change that.
I was just thinking, it's maybe it's a little too much. We weren't going to talk about that, but if you guys noticed, she did the target, and if you saw, I just know because I know her puppy's name's Honey and Pepper.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
if you want to do your animal, or whatever or a group of people, you change the target and can actually, like, Brenda is the person, but underneath you have.
Yes. Here's the client name. So I'm the client, like Jen is saying, and then this is the target that I'm sending these to. And so I have a lot of the groups we've done. I have my home,
Mhm.
so if I wanted to send something to the atmosphere of my home, I have Holy Vibe Tribe, AO Holy Vibe Tribe, different things. We've done so many of these great Unchain Your Brain, Weightless, Sleep Tight. We've done a lot of programs where we have groups of people that we send these to. So I'm just going to scan myself and see if it'll change it. I don't have this actually, but it could, yeah, it reordered this for me. So if I were to use these frequencies, I would use Calendula officinalis for myself because that would be the most effective for me. And then again, you just put it here on the amplifier and turn on the 20-second imprint, and you're done. You can also broadcast these. Why does that matter? Well, broadcasting, we're not talking about that specifically, but anything you can imprint, you can broadcast. So if you're broadcasting, you're sending those frequencies via scalar waves. And the reason that's important is like Jen sending frequencies to her boys when they're how many states away?
Several.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And I have clients all over the world. I literally have clients that are not in the continental US. And so I can send frequencies to them anytime and they get those same frequencies. It's instantaneous. It's called 0 point energy.
Yeah.
So basically, you can do all of these things. You can do a single flower essence. These are, if you have the Bach flowers, if you've heard of Bach flowers, these are the single flowers. There's all kinds of flowers here. And then these are the issues. So if you wanted to do, um, I don't know. Let's see. Mm, I'm too shyness. Oh, okay. We're gonna do procrastination. Then you would be any of these, and I could look and see, you'll see it changes to let me know what aspects of that are. Or I could just scan and see what it comes up with. I'm not gonna look. Sometimes you're like, oh, it's upset. Okay, well, I honestly don't. I would say right now, you know what? I do feel I do feel a little upset that my dog is barking and my lovely husband is not coming to get her and stop that. So I might need to use that one. So you could just do that, and now you have the ability to do this. All right. So there are all of these that you can use. There are some others down here. These are different things like ADHD support, um, Candida. These are detox programs. So they're all full programs as well. One of my favorites, vaccination detox. That's important. Radiation detox, if you go have radiological exams. Pesticide detox. I had lymphoma, which I needed the glyphosate detox. So these are all great as well. You can put these on imprint. You can print water, sugar pellets. You can buy blank sugar pellets and make your own homeopathic remedies. As a matter of fact, we're going to do a class one time. We're soon. Probably it won't be till the fall, but we're going to do a class on imprinting your homeopathic um, medicine kit so that you have some of those low tech things that you can use should the lights go out. We got any other questions?
I'll ask it in case anyone didn't see it, but can you send those detoxes remotely? The
Yes.
energy, yeah. Yeah.
Yes, you can. So there's also tuning forks. Now I use tuning forks. Um, really great, like for these, for your organs. I use these as a practitioner. I will tell you, most people don't get into doing all of this until they've mastered some of the basic things. But I'm just saying, there's so much available. If I wanted to do this on the lungs, I have a little speaker. It's called a digital tuning fork that would send this to the frequencies. And I would click on imprint. And I don't know if you can hear it, but I would hold that on my lungs. And trust me, I use actual tuning forks, so these work. Okay. And then the last thing is the custom playlist. This is where I think the AO scan excels, and that is through the ability to create a custom list of frequencies for whoever you need to send them to or whatever you need to imprint. And that is like this one is safe sleep. This is one that is basically spiritual protection while you sleep. That's why it has the little sword and the little shield and the little place. Okay. This has an energetic clearing, energetic shield, and then it has some of these flower essences that are specific to sleep or protection. Okay. I have a lot of frequencies. This is a playlist I put together for chemtrail detoxing. If you know, you know. Um, Geostress. This is important if you're aware of the Schumann resonance and you know that the solar flares that come in, they affect the Schumann resonance, which affects us. So sometimes we're experiencing things like headaches and tension and stress, and it's really the frequency of the earth has shifted a little bit and gotten out of balance because of the solar flares and other reasons. And this just is a way to send or imprint a list of frequencies that will help you. Sunburn. I have home protection, lots on the eyes, vision health, baby maker. Anybody want to get pregnant? Um,
Funny.
that one is really have had success. We've actually had success with this. So just saying, if you know anybody. But I have so many. I have a lot of Lyme playlist, a lot of COVID defense and recovery, my teeth, brain fog, and I mean I have a whole lot of frequencies. I'm not going to go further down that much because a lot of them are clients, but you can create as many playlists as you want. You're not limited at all. And whatever the need is, you can address it. So, whatever you need, whatever your kids need, whatever your spouse needs, whatever your pets need, whatever your friend in another state needs or your parents need. I have elderly parents. My mother-in-law tends to get shingles. I have a playlist for shingles. So I'm just saying it's one of the best things ever. So I can imprint. If she were local, I would imprint either a SEFI dot or I'd imprint some of the holographic stickers and I would get them to her. Because she's not local, I can just send her the frequencies. So, like I said, you can imprint creams, you can imprint jewelry, you can imprint sugar pellets, water, holographic stickers. You can imprint just about anything. And whatever you can imprint, you can also broadcast, pretty much. That's a rule of thumb. There are a few things that you can't actually broadcast. Um, but you can. That's just, you can with intention.
Right, right.
So, any questions about that? Now, there's so much more, but like Jen said, we could talk all night about all the things because this SEFI module is just one module of all of these. So, all of these things are also available to you, and they're, if you're an AO user, and they're phenomenal too. So,
Bren, we did have a question, and I thought this is a great one. She's asking, so for singing bowls or a sound bowl, can you use it like a tuning fork? Would they work the same? Can you hear a tone? I know how I've used the tuning forks, and well, I'll let you speak to it. I just know that because there's different modules which within the tuning fork. So it's like singing bowl on steroids, in my opinion, but you probably have a better.
Yes. So if you're just, the thing about singing bowls is that they work by sound vibration.
Mhm.
So in order to really to experience them, and I have a friend who does sell singing bowls and uses singing bowls. I mean, if you've never stood in one of the ones that's like this huge and you're standing in it and it gets struck and it vibrates all the way through your body, I mean, it's phenomenal. But when you use the SEFI AO tune, what you're getting are the frequency so you can hear it and it is a sound, but it's not necessarily the same thing. It's not the same as the sound from a singing bowl. It is the frequency of the sound. So if the sound is, for instance, if you have a singing bowl, let's say organs is a good one because it has actually the frequency out beside it. So the frequency for your organs is out beside this. So let's say your heart is 136.1, right? That's a frequency. If you had a sound bowl, you could play that, or you could use this frequency and it would be the same effect. But one you're hearing and the other one is really a scalar wave, and they do make a sound, but it's not necessarily the same sound that you would hear if you were using an actual fork, if that makes sense. So, can you hear this? This is really low. It's a really low sound. Okay. So that's going to be close, but it's not going to be exactly the same as a sound bowl or a tuning fork either. But as far as using the digital tuning forks, I will say this. Um, what's nice is that you can have it's called AO tunes, and I don't think that's my glasses. I have them. But the AO tunes, you get these two little speakers and they vibrate. So you can use those like tuning forks. And what's great is you don't have to have the whole set. I have spent a fortune on tuning forks. Like I have the brain tuning forks, I have the organ tuning forks. They're not cheap, but I can use this instead. And what I love to, and this may not matter, it's a little more advanced, but I can actually change the wave type to square, sine wave. It defaults to triangle or to sawtooth. And those are more advanced things to know as far as how they work for healing. So we do training on that. Did that answer the question? Oh,
I think so.
overkill.
Yeah.
Okay. So I really, really love this. I use the Cepheid. How often do you use it? Every day, Jen?
Yeah, several times a day. I have a whole routine I do for myself, and now with the boys, I actually do the multi-scan, so I'm able to scan all of us all at once, and then I go through and choose. I have their Army Strong playlist for the boys, but then I have certain ones that I do for me and the other kids here. So yeah, all day. And then not to mention my own inner voice and with my clients and with my coaching group I run. So yeah, I mean, I definitely use mine all day long.
So the great thing about this, and again, when I was using frequency, I had to go to a practitioner's office. This was 20 years ago. I had to go to a practitioner's office. I had to hold these copper bars and I had to sit for hours at this office while they ran the rife frequencies that were the ones needed for what I was dealing with.
Right.
Today, I could do the same thing that they did through the AO scan. I could imprint the water. I could broadcast the frequency. I could imprint SEFI dots. I have all these options, and I will tell you the most important thing, and this is not even anything we are talking about, but I will tell you as not only a cancer survivor, but also an insurance agent for 5 school districts in Texas and knowing the statistics flat out for cancer. Only about 10%, 10 to 15% is genetic. The rest is lifestyle and stress. But that being said, right now, after COVID, the likelihood or the statistics say that every single person, now it's statistics, okay? So it doesn't mean that it's 100% right. It's just statistics. But basically, they're saying 100% will get cancer in their lifetime. And a lot of that, not all of it, but a lot of it is stress and lifestyle. And so if we can deal with our emotional stress through using the tools in the AO scan, we can help our spouses do that. We can help our kids do that. That is such a risk reduction factor because I'm telling you, I'm as a pastoral counselor, as a trauma chaplain, as a naturopath, as an insurance agent, all these things I see come together, and what I know is the root of so much illness and so much uh, physical dysfunction is the emotions. That's why what Jen does is so important. And using the AO scan is just such an amazing way to help deal with that without having to talk about. I mean, I don't know about you, but a lot of people have spouses that won't talk about anything. How do you help them?
Right.
You zap them with frequencies.
Well, and even just on that note, one of the things that I've learned over the time that I've taught about emotions and worked with clients is that, so many people just don't know where to start. And
Hmm.
I get that. I mean, and emotional health and wellness is really multifaceted, and it just depends on, how you're brought up and your bent and all of that. So that's why inner voice, goodness, doing that for, a few months can really just unpack a lot without having to go through, as Bren said, just that one-on-one conversation and hashing things out. And really, a lot of studies are pointing to now talk therapy is not always good. There's a place for it, but it can be a little bit more detrimental because the more you rehash events that are negative that happen to you, the more it re-traumatizes you. And so you're actually further behind than when you started. So doing something like inner voice, I like to think about if you've ever made your own chicken broth, right? You have to sometimes you skim off the gunk, or at least I do, because I think it's a bit gross. It's probably the best thing for you. But in any case, it just bubbles up to the surface. And I'm like, I'm gonna get rid of that because yeah. It's that. It's the gunk getter offer. You know what? I really have these catchy little sayings. They're so professional. The inner voice is the gunk getter offer. And then when you start to feel better, it's like you can tell there's an energetic shift in your emotion body. And if you're like me, you're not freaking out about shoes being left on the floor. You're all of a sudden feeling a little bit more rested and at peace. And you might can start to grapple with like, okay, so why am I not doing XYZ? And start to maybe have a little talk therapy or coaching. I will say this, Bren, I have to go pick up my boy.
I'm
So
done.
okay, you're finished. So for anybody who does not have um if you don't have an AO scan, obviously Bren and I are like, you should get one. And we have Bren, if you want to put the information in the chat as I say it, just you can get it from us through Bren and I, or if somebody else invited you on this, obviously get with them because we do have links to share with you all. The initial cost is pretty minimal. I mean, the subscription for it monthly is $149 a month
Hmm.
for everything that Bren showed you, plus, scads more. Plus, there's training in the back office and all of that. There are extra tools and goodies, but we would love it if you could speak with us and we might can point you to, do you need any of those extra tools and goodies, such as the tuning forks, the SEFI dots, excuse me, the tuning discs, rather, not forks, my apologies, SEFI dots, those types of things. But really, if you think about it, 149 for all that you can do. It is not a lifetime commitment. It's obviously month to month, just like any type of membership, but that is the skinny on that. So get with Bren, and I thank you, Bren, for that. And yeah, it's just my mom. If you guys have pets, definitely get with my mom, Janice. She is the animal whisperer. She's phenomenal with dealing with your animals, with all things, with the SEFI scanner and all of that. She's working with somebody now with anyway, as she mentioned before we record, I'm not going to share. I realized that was client confidentiality. In any case, she was mentioning something with her horse being lame. So there's a lot that you can do. Thank you. And Bren put both of our links on there. If you're watching this later on YouTube, you will find both Bren and my links down at the bottom in the comments below. So if you know me, obviously use mine. If you know Brenda, obviously use hers. If you don't know either of us, flip a coin and we'll just let the Lord decide, literally. Unless somebody else invited you and shared this with you, get with them. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We are super excited to share this with you, and we will see you again very soon with more on AO.